What is going on, guys? Biznix here. Today we're going to be talking about my build in Tom Clancy's The Division. Now before I go any further, I just want you to know subscribing to my channel grants you daily Star Wars Battlefront, Doom, and the occasional Division video. Also, if you ever want me to do something in particular, let me know in a comment. And finally, if you ever want to play with me, then let me know and I'll be able to get my appropriate information to you. Without further ado, let's look at what I have. Now, before I show you my stats, I just want you to know my build is not perfect, and it honestly is nowhere near perfect. There's a lot that can be updated on it. However, I don't have the credits to re-roll them right now, and even if I do re-roll it, it's not saying that I'm going to necessarily have enough money left over to do other stuff with my money as well. So, but I'm going to show you my build. Now, don't critique it as badly. I know you can critique it some, but just don't be mean about it. So our build is mainly a balanced build, and it's sort of, I don't want to say solo player because you can't solo this in the Dark Zone, but if you're with one other player, you're going to be perfectly fine, and I think that's what this build is really for. Most people have at least one other friend to play with, so that's kind of what I was going for. Now, in my previous video, I had 4 of the final measure gear set pieces. I decided to switch them out for the 2 final measures, so I'd get the 50% exotic damage resilience, the 2 strikers, so I would get the 20% armor damage, and then I had the 2 sentries, so I would get the 30% headshot damage. But we're going to go into each individual piece, and let me just first show you my weapons and sort of what I'm going for. So obviously my primary DPS is 144,047, which isn't too bad. It's fairly balanced in comparison to the other stats. My first weapon is an MP7, and the only reason why I'm using this is because it has a 25% critical hit chance and a very high RPM, mainly because of a mod that I have on it, but also it's high in the first place, and brutal. So this is the set talent, so I don't even have to unlock this, which is awesome. Headshot damage is increased by 24% when using this weapon. It's really good. The other 2 aren't really that great for PvP. They're decent for PvP. I mean PvE, but Alright, let's look at the mods, in case you're wondering. So we have the T2 micro red dot sight, which says 21% headshot damage, which is good with brutal, and 7.5 critical hit chance, which is good in general. Compensator, so this is just for stability, and then also the 32% critical hit damage. The red dot sight, which also for stability and accuracy. This is sort of like hip firing, which I really advise using when you're using a submachine gun. That hip fire is honestly better to do. It's pretty accurate in this game. Extended magazine, we have 85.5% magazine size and 26.1% rate of fire. I might switch this out for a larger magazine or critical hit chance or something, because maybe the rate of fire might be too much. I don't know. I'm not going to show you my skin because that's pretty useless. My second weapon is a First Wave M1A. You're going to notice it's a 163 gear score, but from what I have noticed, and I know this doesn't apply for every sniper, but for everything that I have found, like I'm going to show you, I have a classic M1A up here that has 204, but I don't use it because it's also missing a mod slot, but also its headshot damage is a lot lower. It's 15% lower, which is that's a pretty big difference. And I mean, it doesn't have as good skills as this one does. This one has harmful, which is basically the bleed status, which I actually really like. If you're trying to chase someone down, you shoot them at least like 3 or 4 times, you're going to usually apply the bleed status. Vicious, critical hit chance is increased by 12.5% while at full health. If you're sniping somebody, most of the time you're at full health, so you're going to be doing a bit more damage doing that. And then ferocious damage against elite and named enemies is increased by 13%. It's not the best trait or set talent, but I still think it's better than this 204. So this is obviously bringing my gear score way down, but it's okay. It's not. I don't really care. It's just a number, really. Looking at our mods, we also have the T2 micro red dot sight, which is basically just headshot damage and accuracy, and you always need a little bit of accuracy on your weapons to make them decent, especially on snipers, because if you don't, then it is going to really affect the way your shots sway off course and stuff. Loud vent break, so 32% critical hit damage, which is good on snipers, and 20% increased threat is basically just what you get for having this high critical hit damage, and honestly I don't care because for PvP that never really affects anything. PvE it's a little big of a deal, but really doesn't really matter. The accuracy again and stability for hand stop. I might switch this out for something else eventually, but we'll see. And then we have an extended magazine, so 91% magazine size and 21.5% reload speed. Pretty good. I might try to get maybe critical hit damage with the magazine size or weapon damage. But we'll see. It's fairly solid right now for a sniper at M1A. So those are my weapons, and those are my mods. Oh, my weapons. Oh, we didn't show you my pistol. Pistol really doesn't matter. Nobody really uses this. It's just Officer's M9 A1, and I only use it because it has this 20 size clip right here. It's not bad. We're not even going to go into that really. So we're going to start with my chest piece, going into our gear, and then at the very end I'm going to show you my character stats. And show you why I kind of chose these pieces. So first off, final measure vest, 240 gear score, 1532 armor, and I actually really like this vest. It has 2 gear mod slots, and it just has pretty high armor, and it was in health, which is what I needed. Pulse duration is great because that's where a lot of my damage is going to be coming from when I'm doing a pulse, and this increased kill XP is pretty useless, but like I was trying to say in my other video, this minor attribute really doesn't mean anything, because even if you had increased ammo capacity, when you go restock you can just use your Lone Star vest anyway, which is right here, and you're gonna get the bonus of 100% ammo capacity anyway. So this minor attribute doesn't mean anything. But that's our chest piece, and it's a final measure. And then I guess going in final measure, we'll look at our mask. So our mask has 579 armor, 240 gear score, and like I said, it's final measure. And the minor attribute is 12% burn resist, which is pretty good in this meta because a lot of those cleaners in the dark zone like shreds you really fast, so you need to be really careful. Now it's majoring in electronics. If I could re-roll this, which unfortunately I can't because I re-rolled it for other things already, but if I could, I would probably put firearms on. But that's a different story. I do need this though for my skill power to be decently high, so it's not really that bad. It has 2 gear mod slots, and the skill attribute's a sticky bomb explosion radius. I didn't show you my harness mod slots, but I'll show you these real fast. So I have a prototype stand-on mod, advanced stand-on mod. When I get more prototype stand-on mods, I will be putting them on, but I actually don't have enough right now because my build uses, what, 2, 4, 6, 7 mods. So, and then this advanced performance mod on my harness has this skill power and pulse duration. So I almost always have a pulse up because of this, which is nice. And then like the advanced stand-on mod just has the 612 health basically. Alright, so that's the final measure, and because I have the 2 pieces, I get the 50% exotic damage resilience, which is the only reason really why anyone would use it. Moving on, I'll go to my backpack. My backpack's a striker backpack, 214 gear score. I'm looking for a 240, but I can't find it. I don't know. They're just really rare, for me at least. And it's basically majored in firearms, and my mod on it is an advanced stand-on mod, in case you're wondering. The minor attribute burn resist, again, like I said, is pretty important. And these skill attributes suck, and I probably should change them, but I'm pretty sure I re-rolled for armor, so sadly, cannot really do anything about these skill attributes down here. Moving on to my next striker piece is my gloves. I might switch these out for Savage eventually, but I'm not sure yet. These are 473 armor, 240 gear score, major in firearms, and the 33% critical hit damage, 1,961 marksman rifle damage, 11% health on kill, which is really important in this meta because my toughness isn't really high. It's fairly average for the like the average player, I guess. But this could be this is really important because when you kill an enemy, you need that extra health. 11% is not too much out of 300,000 toughness. It's not 300,000, but it's really close. It's not too much, but it's what you need. So it's nice. And so since and we're not even gonna look at this skill attribute because this is useless, really. But okay, Since I use the 2 strikers, I get the set bonus of 20% enemy armor damage, which is nice because a lot of PvE players need that extra armor damage because a lot of the armor is most of the health of enemies in the first place in the higher DZ area, so it's really nice to have. And finally, so we've gone through these 2, we're going to go through these real fast, and the Sentry Skull knee pads, I rerolled them for armor, so I have a very high amount of armor. I also have a gear mod slot. This is a 214 gear score, so still looking for 240, but I can't find them. I don't know where they're at. Just not having good luck. And they major in firearms. My 2 mods, or my 1 mod slot is a prototype standard mod, which is nice. But other than that, the best thing on here probably is the 9% enemy armor damage, which brings my total of enemy armor damage to 29%, and the shock resistance, which is 27%, which is great. And like I said, the mod slot just makes it better. Our last piece is this Sentry Skull holster, gear score 240. 486 armor is not really bad, it's pretty decent. It could be better. Like this holster has 730, but it doesn't really matter because I'll show you my armor is pretty much maxed out anyway, so it would have been useless to have the extra armor. But this majored in, or actually didn't major in it. It is lacking the the electronics here, which kind of sucks. But I said to myself, having the mask that had the electronics didn't, it kind of makes up for it. And this gives me. I apologize for that. My recording stopped for some reason. So we were talking about my holster, and I was just about done talking about the protection from elites and the skill attributes. So basically, like I was saying, you have 2 final measure, 2 striker, and 2 Sentry's Call, which ultimately increases your enemy armor damage and your headshot damage, and then increases your exotic damage resilience, which is really great. So I'm going to look at my character overall stats right now in case you're wondering. And so we're just going to quickly go through these. The firearms really doesn't change much, it looks exactly the same. Stamina is about 75k health, and then the rest is just toughness or armor in general. Electronics pretty decent. It could be better, it probably will be better in the future, but like I said, I'm going to build on this build. But it's just kind of a base thing right now. Weapon damage, this is for my SMG right now, and at the optimal range it's doing 39,000. And the critical hit chance is 32.5, which is okay. It's like 1 in 3 shots basically. I'm going to be landing a crit, and the critical hit damage is 90%. The headshot damage is 89%. So if I landed, because most of the time I'm always aiming for the head anyway. So if I land a headshot damage, which is going to be 89%, and then times the headshot damage by 1.9, then that's how much damage I'll actually be doing. So I could calculate that for you, and if you really want me to, I'll put it in the comments. If you don't, it's cool, you probably can calculate it yourself. Not saying that, yeah, okay, anyway, okay. Moving on, this stuff's not really that important because honestly you don't really have anything in it. There's my damage bonus from marksman rifle, it's not really important anyway. Damage to elites is 0%, which is like, that's okay, it could be better, but like I said, we had the 29% enemy armor damage and the 11% health on kill, which is pretty good. And I'm pretty sure this is only because I have my MP7 out. I think the other, I'm pretty sure there's supposed to be like 5% here, but I'm not sure. Maybe that's protection. And then skill power, we have that, which, you know, that's the same as this. And yeah, there's nothing special in the skills. The survivability is kind of where it gets a little better. The toughness is right there. Max health was in the beginning. The armor is almost capped at 75. So like I was saying, I could have re-rolled for armor on my holster, but I decided not to because it kind of would have been useless. And so I tried to get something else, and I didn't really get anything great, but that's okay. Health regeneration is pretty low, but honestly it doesn't really matter because you're having the health on kill, which is kind of making up for that. Protection from elites is 5%, so that's where that 5% was supposed to be coming from. Exotic damage resilience, 50%, that's from our final measure gear pieces, which is really nice. Especially, that's every resistance. That's like, from burn, bleed, all that. But obviously, if you have like bleed resistance, it's going to be better because it's majoring in that. But the exotic damage resilience kind of makes up for it in all aspects. Blind death resistance, that's pretty bad to have. I don't know why I have it, but it's probably because it was just a bad roll. Burn resist is pretty good, like I was saying, and the shock resist is really good because a lot of people like to be nubs and use shock turrets, which is pretty stupid. All this other stuff is pretty useless to look at. So guys, that's my character. So I'm not going to have gameplay in this video, only because it's sort of useless to have. I just wanted to point out some things that you should be looking for and you should try to get on your build. Now obviously, like I said, my build's not really good, but I think through the small tips I was saying, like, you definitely need health on kill in this meta because a lot of the enemies have a lot of health, and the only way for you to survive if you're playing with one other person is to have that health on kill. Also, you kind of want to have about 75% armor mitigation, or enemy damage mitigation, so having 75% armor is really, really important. You kind of want to have balanced stats, sort of like the firearms and the stamina and the electronics. You kind of want to have these balanced. The electronics can be a bit lower or a bit higher depending on your playstyle, and your stamina should definitely either be here. It really shouldn't be any higher than 3000 if you want your DPS to be around this area. This DPS could go up more if I use firearm mods with armor, but that's something I might change in the future. Like I said, I don't have the resources to do it right now. And you definitely are going to want to run at least a strikers or sentries 2-piece or 3-piece, and then have like savage gloves or something. Those are just minor changes you can make to your own build if you find that this build for you isn't working. But like I said, obviously there's no way you're ever going to have the same stuff as me, only because that's the way this game works and it's all random. And like I was saying, there's just no way. And if you haven't played for as long as I've been playing, then you might not even be able to get like a sniper like this. It has a really low gear score, but it's really good. And just comparing it to the 204, you'll just see that. So guys, that's really about it. If you found everything sort of clear and understanding, definitely leave this video a like, and if you enjoyed it in general, leave a like. If there's something I missed or something that I didn't point out, then you guys should definitely let me know in a comment, because I would love to get back to you on that. Also remember, my build's not perfect, so don't criticize. And really, without further ado guys, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next one.